You want a tall, dommy, mommy orc, or you're more of a muscled up, slong, slinging orc? Let's talk about how a human can get with an orc from the mating manual. So the mating manual researchers picked 2 locations for the orc tribes, Yur'Sarva Plain, and of course the Great Collection, which is where you can find, is where the Devil's Deal, my first graphic novel series, takes place in. So let's jump into the mating. So while all orcs did start out in the Yur'Sarva Plains, eventually they separated into those that stayed in the plains and then those who integrated into mixed race society. And so while the Waneshai Orc Clan Authority is responsible for establishing, cultural norms across the world, the clans in mixed race society have 2 different versions of how they interact using the same systems, such as looping and tenting. But right now, we're going to focus on the one you as a human can participate in, which is called tenting. And it is similar to human marriage, except it is a century-long at least. So for a human, it is a lifelong commitment. And the purpose of tenting is to establish a formal commitment between 2 individuals, whether it's 2 orcs or an orc and something outside of that, to basically cohabitate with each other, and that will allow them to gain access to the clan's resources, such as raccoons, which are basically kind of like apartments or dormitories for orc citizens. However, this does come obviously with lifelong commitments, because if a non-orc is, integrated into it, then you now have to basically be in a militia should you be called upon. And if your partner happens to die, you are now something known as a grave guard that is solely responsible for ensuring the upkeep of the gravestone of your partner. The clans also have a massive amount of influence with their policies for clan members, and if you become one, you have to follow these policies. So let's jump into some of these policies that are actually kind of trending in orc society. And I want to know if you think this is too intrusive. The first policy is called back to front door preference. And this policy simply states that because both male and female orcs can get more pleasure from the back door, because as we've discussed in the actual anatomy videos, that the sperm dome is next to the rectum, which when put pressure on, acts kind of like a G-spot for women. Similar to a prostate for men, but to a much higher degree. And that the front door should be used for reproduction. But if you still choose to do it, all the orcs are saying is that you are now on the hook for basically getting contraception. The clan's not going to provide it to you. The second one is a mill mother, and a mill mother is basically a community mother type, and for first-time orc parents, you need to use her. You have to have her help you with child rearing, training, and actually watching the child for no less than 5 hours per week. And if you fail to do so, then you can get fined, or if the child is found to be neglected or abused, they will literally take your child from you. Keep in mind, this is a policy and not a law, but is still enforceable by the law because of what could influence. But what happens if you have children after the first one? Well, then it's not a requirement that you use the male mother. However, they are still highly encouraged to be used. And the last policy is called basic love is not enough. And what this policy states